So we're right outside the entrance for Coronation Street. This is where all the crew will arrive and all your famous characters. So right through these gates, all the film stars of Coronation Street will arrive every weekday morning, I guess. So behind this wall are all the facades, and the blue bit there is actually Weatherfield Police Station. So the actual main entrance for the tour is here on Trafford Old Road. Not where it normally was.
Hi guys, you okay?
Yeah, right.
What's the name under?
Pritchard.
Okay. 9:45. Two of you, yeah, so you just have to try to do some green wristband.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Hiya.
Wristbands. When
Cheers.
the card is ready, they'll pull out the colour of your wristband.
Brilliant.
How much time?
Thank you. We're inside, we're just waiting for the tour guide. There are toilets here as well.
Brilliant.
How are we all? Good?
Yeah.
Excited?
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it? Brilliant. Okay. Hello guys, my name is Michael. I'll be your tour guide today, and honestly, thank you so much for coming to visit us here. It has been a long time coming for me. 2 years, 2 very long years. So it's great to have visitors back on the street. Now before we do, of course, head up onto the set and round there. I've got to get the boring health and safety stuff out of the way first, but it is important nonetheless, so if you could listen up, that would be wonderful. So I hope you're all wearing appropriate footwear, because those cobbles are an absolute nightmare if you're wearing 6-inch heels like I was last weekend. So as long as you guys are comfy, that's the main thing, and all wrapped up warm as well, because as you can see, there's a good chance it might rain today because we are in Manchester, you know what it's like. But I always think if it does rain, it makes it a little bit more authentic, doesn't it? Because of course it always rains on Coronation Street. Now as you're going around, the way it'll work is I'll sort of stop in an area, chat about, there's those geese, chat about who lives where, who works where, sort of a few storylines from that area, and then what we'll do is I'll set you on your way to get your pictures, then we'll gather back in again, and then so on and so forth, and move around the set, and before you know it, we'll be right back here at the very end, and you guys will have memories to take away with you guys, so hopefully you'll all have a fantastic day. Right, we're going to head up this way now towards the set, so if you'd like to follow me, if you could stick to the sort of like a pathway as we're going around, try and avoid the roads. There shouldn't be anybody driving around, but if there is, just use the obvious and not stand in front of the car.
Yeah, we're from Stoke.
Stoke.
Yeah.
Not too far away then.
Not too far, no. We set off early this morning,
Yeah.
about 45 minutes, so not too far.
Bad, is it?
Yeah. So all good.
Get the train here or drive?
Drove and just parked there. So, yeah.
Decent.
So I guess all the stars park here.
They do.
Yeah.
This is the car park.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much more exciting than this. As you're going around, guys, keep your eyes out, because you might spot some vans that you see on the programme. You can see a Freshco van over here. And in a moment you'll see a Newton and Ridley van. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you will also see there are Freshco vans going down this wall as well. It's amazing bit of camera trickery. We can turn this car park into a supermarket in seconds. So anytime you see them in the front.
You've got your own canteen.
That's our gift shop.
Oh, gift shop, is it?
So at the end, guys, when we lap back around on ourselves, this is your place to go for all your souvenirs and things. Right, guys, so we're going to ignore the obvious behind me for the time being and ask, have you guys, any of you ever been to Media City before?
Yeah.
A couple of nods here and there. So for those who haven't, welcome firstly. This has been our home since 2014, well sort of the end of 2013 was when production started moving over to here, but it was January 2014 after our Christmas break that Corrie first started filming here. But of course it's not just Coronation Street that's set up home here over the last 10 years, of course. The Voice is filmed over at Dock 10 over there. We've also got CBBC, CBeebies, Blue Peter, News Round, BBC Breakfast, you name it. It's probably filmed in Media City, so it's a real hub, especially during the summertime. You never know, you might see out just walking around. It's a really nice place to be. Of course, you might spot a Corrie star as well. So, like I said, this bit over here is exclusively Coronation Street. It is the largest single-use production site for one television programme in the world, so we're really proud of it. Did anybody manage to visit our old set at Granada Studios?
Yeah.
If you guys want to get in this way, come a bit closer. Fantastic. So yeah, that was our home, of course, from when the show began in 1960 right through up until 2013. Our original set, though, wasn't outdoors at all. If you were watching back in the 60s, you'll have noticed that the entirety of it was filmed indoors. So what we had to do was paint the cobbles on the studio floor and have facades that looked like the outsides of the houses erected in the studio. Now, it was in 1967 that was decided to move those sets outdoors, and a couple of years later they decided to rebuild them in brick. But it wasn't until 1982 that a proper purpose-built set was built, and that was the one that, if you guys visited our old home at Granada, that's the one that you'll have visited. We were there for over 30 years, but if you did visit that, you'll have noticed it was absolutely tiny. You couldn't really get cars passing one another on the streets, and really in terms of the show's growth, we had to move somewhere like this to allow us to have better storylines, bigger and better storylines. I think it was around the time of the tram crash really that we realised that we couldn't go on for much longer at Granada Studios. We needed something that was more built for the 21st century. Right, who's ready to step on those cobbles? Yeah. Okay, follow me. You can sing the theme tune if you want to, guys. That's completely up to you. It's not compulsory. If you want to make a nice group around me again here. You guys want to come in?
Yep.
I know it's exciting. You can see what's down there. We will get there in good time, though. All right, we're excited to be on Coronation Street.
Yep.
Well, you're not. We're actually on Viaduct Street. Of course, evidenced by the huge viaduct behind you there. I like that, he's buzzing. Of course, the Viaduct Bistro in the centre there. You might remember that used to be Nick's Bistro, just Nick's for a period. It was also the Joinery Bar back in December 2010, of course, owned by Nick Tilsley and Peter Barlow. But it was on one night in December that something disastrous happened. Anybody remember what that was? And it's evidenced if you look up at the viaduct there. You can see there's a slightly different coloured brick. What might that be? Anybody remember the
Tram crash?
Yes. So there was a big explosion at the Joinery Bar, which of course killed Ashley Peacock. That in turn meant that the tram passing over the viaduct there came crashing down into what was at the time D and S Alahans behind me here. Now of course D and A Alahans. And do you remember poor Molly Dobbs was in there with baby Jack at the time? The other end of the tram lifted up and smashed down into the cabin, of course trapping poor Rita. She was left brushing the bonbons out of her barnet. And we also, of course, on the same night had Fizz, of course, giving birth to baby Hope. So there was hope at the end of it, at least. Now, it's not the first time, though, that there has been a vehicle, rather, that's derailed from that viaduct. Going back to 1967, you remember Ina. We're all far too young, I think. Yeah. Now, also on this stretch of street, we've got the burnt out Webster's Auto Centre along there, which is now Gary Windas's furniture shop. Number 12, home to Kathy, Brian and Alex, and number 15A behind me here, which is where Daniel, Bertie and Paul live. But of course we've got the corner shop here, D and A Alahans. We know that's Dev's shop, he's had it since 1999. But what does the A and the A stand for? It's not astronaut, Asher and Hardy, of course, yeah. So that was Dev's little present to them for their birthday. Of course, that used to be D&S. Of course, Sunita was Dev's wife, if you remember. Yeah, anybody remember how Sunita died?
And the Rovers.
It was in the South of the Rovers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She nearly met her end though on tram crash night, but she survived for another 3 years after that. Now, of course, like I said, Dev's had it since 1999, but there's been many a famous proprietor over the years. Remember when Alf had it back in the 80s, Alf Roberts, yeah?
Yeah.
Going into the 90s, we saw Reg Holdsworth as well. Remember Reg? Yeah. And this was actually where the very first ever scene on Coronation Street took place. Episode 1, scene 1, we saw Elsie Lappin handing over the keys to Florrie Lindley. And so they say, the rest is history.
Elsie Tanner?
It's Elsie Lappin.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there was 2 Elsies on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to get your pictures on this stretch of street, yes, mate, you.
So we're here on Coronation Street, absolutely amazing. And here we go, right outside of Nick's Bistro.
Bigger or smaller than you thought it would be? Much smaller. I don't know whether I've worked here too long now and I just see it as true to size.
I'm just looking at the doors when we're out the doors.
If you look at the doors on the street, let's see. Alright, we all ready? Fabulous. So, from one corner shop to another, and of course we've got the Kabin here. It's been on Coronation Street since 1990. Before that, the original shop that Len bought for Rita was down on Rosamond Street. But who owns the Kabin these days? Anybody remember? It's not Rita. Right, it is. It's Brian and Kathy, of course, these days. Of course, Rita did own it for many years. Of course, handed over the keys to Norris. And of course, we lost him last year, didn't we? Yeah. Anybody remember though? Of course, Norris being a prankster. What happened to this poor paper boy here?
Cut his head off.
Yeah, he got decapitated, didn't he? Because of course he said that there was a secret hidden inside of the paper boy. When they chopped its head off, there's nothing inside. It's just Norris playing another joke. Now, of course, before Norris, Rita was joined by Mavis for many years in here. And of course, normally in the window we have some sweets in there, and of course there's some games and things at the moment. But when it comes to the sweets in the Kabin, do you reckon they're real?
Yeah.
They are, yes. However, they've been there an awfully long time. So much so, I personally wouldn't like to eat them. They've probably been brought over from Granada. The reason we do that is it just stops cast and crew when they're on set picking them up and eating them. Because of course, for continuity reasons, you couldn't obviously, you were filming a scene in there and then over the weekend cast came in and suddenly ate all of the lemon drops, and then on Monday we tried to pick up a scene that was set in later in the day. It would look a bit odd, wouldn't it? So Corrie fans are very vigilant, they pick up on these things. Now when it comes to the magazines and the other publications that you see inside of here, they're not real either, I'm afraid. Tittle Tattle and Hire and Chit Chat, whilst they look like magazines I'd love to have a read of, they're all created in-house here by our team at Coronation Street. So a lot of hard work goes on behind the scenes to create those. Because of course a lot of the time you see cast members on the front of magazines, don't you? So we could never use real publications, because then where do you blur the line between fiction and reality? Now I did have a couple of you asking what's inside of the terraced houses behind. Now I'm afraid to say, you were to knock on those doors, you wouldn't get Kevin Webster answering the door. There is basically nothing in there. We've dressed the hallways so that the doors can be opened and you can sort of see the set inside, but the majority of the interior scenes for the programme are filmed in our studios. I will point out the odd one here and there where you can notice through the window and see the interior set inside, but as for the terraced houses, they're just too small to be used, I'm afraid, but they have been used for other purposes over the years, such as just for storage or for offices. And indeed, upstairs in the Rovers for a short period was the hotel which Gemma stayed in Llandudno after she gave birth to the quads. So we really do get our use out of these buildings. Right guys, so I know you all really want to have a little roam about and explore Weatherfield. So at this point, as long as you could go head back onto Victoria Street, you've basically got the space from here, going all the way down to the Rovers, to have a look around, nosy through the letterboxes, get all of your pictures here, and then I'll meet you outside of the Rovers. We've also got a professional photo opportunity down there. The lovely Millie and Kat are down there at the moment. This can be purchased from our gift shop at the end. Get your pictures outside the Rovers, but don't go any further than that, please, guys. We'll then gather back in and then on to the next part of the tour. So you've got a little bit of time to do that for yourselves now, at your own pace. So don't feel like you're having to rush about. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I have a lot of people always say, who lives where? So I can do that for you in a little bit, but go and grab your pictures.
You see this on the set, don't you? Absolutely fabulous. So we're outside Underworld. So this is where Gail and David and all the family live. Never knew it was fake grass.
Easier to maintain there, mate. It's,
Yeah.
Less for our team to have to do, because obviously when it comes to the plants and things,
Yeah.
they all have to be timed perfectly, because obviously with us filming ahead,
Yeah.
naturally we'd be filming spring scenes in winter,
I've got you.
so everything has to be planted a little bit earlier.
Wow.
Then of course when it comes to the summer and we're filming the autumn scenes,
Yeah.
we have to take all the leaves off the trees.
It's amazing, isn't it?
A lot of hard work goes into it.
Let's have a look through the letterbox. Nope, can't see through that one.
Don't forget to take pictures outside the Rovers as well, guys. That photograph opportunity is included at that time. We've got to explore, so make sure you do that.
Go and get your picture. Oh, sorry, who am I just putting the flies on in? Alright, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, here I am sitting on the famous seat here in Coronation Street, outside of Audrey's. And there we go, the world famous Rovers Return. Let's have a look through the letterbox of the Rovers. got to be the most famous house. Let's have a look through the letterbox here. Absolutely well worth doing this tour. So the tour costs £35 each, but it's brilliant. You're just free to walk along Coronation Street. Let's have a look at the famous cobbles. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Now what's going on?
Okie doke, right, if you all want to join me down this way now then please. Rosamond Street, of course we've got the Rosamond Street Medical Centre. That was nearly a nasty accident there, wasn't it? Got the Rosamond Street Medical Centre behind me, as I've just mentioned to somebody. This used to be Alec Gilroy's graffiti club back in the day, and of course For Your Fries Only, which is Deb's fish and chip shop. Of course, we don't really see it on screen much, but you might remember when Scylla Battersby used to work there. Going through the viaduct, you can see through to a continuation of Rosamond Street. Now, if you went to our old Granada set, this was actually a picture attached to the side of the studio wall that made it seem as if the street continued downwards. However, when we moved here, we realised that it probably wasn't the best thing to replicate. So we've sort of turned the street 90 degrees, so Rosamond Street continues that way, not to the left-hand side now. Maudsley Street is the street behind Coronation Street, that's still there. Luckily, not many people noticed the change. Now, of course, my favourite part of the set, I would say, is the ginnel that runs behind Coronation Street. Some of you might have seen it from the top, but if you want to go and have a peek down through there, you can see the Rovers backyard and have a nosy down at the back gardens and then head back.
So we're heading down the ginnel here at Coronation Street.
Oh, we can't do the walk anyway,
myself.
You have to come around. Go around with mummy.
Follow me up, let's see. Of course, the bus stop here, and if you have a nosy, you'll notice Granada Studios is on that bus, on the map, on the bus stop. However, if you're looking for the Imperial War Museum, there's conveniently nothing on the other side of the road from it. Alright guys, make a nice group again for me. So if you fancy a kebab or a cuppa at Roy's, or perhaps a Kabin at town, then this is your place to come. Of course, Victoria Street. Now this was added on in 1999 following the closure of the Granada Studios tour. If any of you visited back then, you'll remember that the street sort of stopped here with what was the old Buckley's, now of course Preston and Petzold. Now we added on sort of the first half of this street, however as we move down, I'll explain what was added back in 2018. In fact, 4 years ago yesterday we unveiled an extended part of this street. And hasn't time flown? Now, when it comes to the businesses, as you will see, they all look pretty good, don't they? When you look through the windows, it almost looks as if we could film in there. And that's because for many of these shops on Victoria Street, we do. In a few moments, I'll set you on your way. You can have a nosy through the front window of Preston's Petals. Tracy's been very kind for the first time in her life. She's left the front door open so you can see inside the set there. You nosy through the window of the kebab shop and the community centre. We also film in those as well. Now, once again, this is just the hard work of our team behind the scenes, making it seem, obviously, well, we do film in these ones, but for the shops that we don't film in, matching the interior window sets with the exterior ones that we have here on the street. So it's a seamless operation between the scenes that are filmed indoors and outdoors. Now, one thing that we did have to do when we moved here, and it was a little bit of an inconvenience, we had some buildings that were towering around us for many years at our old Granada set that we had to replicate here. Now, one of them was, you look at the big warehouse building on the right hand side there, with the two windows. That was the old bonded warehouse at Granada Studios, so we had to build a facade version of that. And this building here, which in the show is Nuttall's Brewery, of course, now an event space owned by Debbie Webster. You might have seen this is where Weatherfield Winter Wonderland took place a few years back. And of course last year we had Coronation Street just on the other side of these gates. Nuttall's Brewery is actually just a way of explaining the old Museum of Science and Industry that was next door to our set at Granada. Now when we moved here, we thought, well, what are we going to do? Because we haven't got the museum anymore, so we've replicated it. So if you go in the city centre, you'll notice there is an exact replica, or rather there's a replica here, of a real life building. The same applies for the bonded warehouse, which is still there at Granada Studios. Of course, Prima Donna behind me, Rolls going down, and the builder's yard on your right hand side. You've got some time now, guys, if you want to explore and have a look around. Do have a notice just through the windows and things, but please don't go past sort of the builder's yard, please. We'll get onto that in a few moments' time. And don't try calling any of these phone numbers either, because I'm afraid to say you will get to Steve McDonald. 715 is the fictional area code for Weatherfield. Any of the newer businesses, they'll use 496. These are numbers that have been set up by Ofcom.
So this is the builder's yard. So I hope you're all enjoying this tour of Coronation Street. We're outside of Roy's Roll. Amazing.
Here on the news set at the time. Can you remember when Michelle Keegan was in the programme? She of course played Tina McIntyre. Remember she was pushed off the balcony up there at the builder's yard and ended up face down here on the cobbles, and everybody was visiting at the time lying down on the cobbles and recreating Tina's death, which was bizarre, especially given it never actually happened on the old set, but of course at the time it was open for tours, so everybody was coming and doing that. If you want to gather up this way, we've got Victoria Court behind me, of course home to Nick and Leanne, and of course Gary and Maria are here as well. You might remember that this was actually a big storyline for us back in May 2015. Of course, it's set on fire. Anybody remember who started the fire though?
Tracy?
It was Tracy Barlow. Of course, poor Cal perished in the fire. And of course, there was an explosion on the other side of the road outside of the builder's yard that killed Maddie. Now, of course, once again, it was a real fire. So believable so that people that live over at Media City and around about saw the flames creeping above and actually rang 999 to say that there's a fire at Coronation Streets. Little did they know we'd already tipped off, of course, the local emergency services to tell them in advance that we would be, of course, doing this controlled explosion here at Coronation Street. But it just goes to show how believable things can be, especially for the audience as well. Because a lot of the time we get people that contact the programme concerned about things that have happened, or perhaps indeed if Roy's got a job going at the cafe, applying for said job. Now just one thing that's a little new addition here is Seb's Memorial Garden. Of course we lost Seb last year in that attack from of course Corey to him and Nina. Of course with all of this crime going on in Weatherfield, we really do need a very own police station. So in the past we'd used a building at Granada Studios. We've also over time used real closed down police stations. But now here at Media City we have our very own police station, and we're going to head round there in a few moments. But if you'd like to walk down this way, do get your pictures here at Seb's Memorial Garden. And as well, since then, a new block of flats has opened up in the old Block Fitness Gym. This is now M10 Living, so who knows?
So this is Seb's Memorial Garden.
Ground at all, because it leads through, of course, to the police station. So we'll just wait on the guys at the back to catch it. So we really do use every corner of the set here. Guys, if you just want to jump down from there for me. Okay, we're going to head through this way now.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yourselves in front of the police station. Don't look too nervous to get up there. can't believe it. Right guys, if you want to gather in. So as I said, we did build the police station here, however we never anticipated, of course, back in 2018 when this part of the set was built, that a pandemic would be on the way. And that of course stopped us filming any scenes out on location, so we had to get creative. Now, you might notice if you turn around, that Weatherfield North course is conveniently next door to the police station. Now, it's not meant to be, and if you look up, you'll notice that it's actually a part of the police station. We realised that we couldn't go on location to shoot our court scenes anymore, so what we had to do was get these downstairs windows to the place, put the Weatherfield North court side, and of course obscure the upstairs to hide the fact that it was the police station. Nowadays we could go back on location again, but it's very convenient to have this now here on our sets. Upstairs in the police station, so whilst we do film inside of here, we also use the upstairs of this as well. You know, whenever we see Debbie Webster's hotel, the Chariot Square Hotel, often seen with Adam and Lydia recently, that's just upstairs in the police station. So we really do use every single corner of this set for something different. And just down here as well, we have a bit of a multi-purpose space. So whilst this is, as you can see, the back of Roy's Rolls and things, you'll have seen this on screen over the last few weeks as the nightclub where Amy Barlow was spiked. We also used that area as Jeremy Bremner's lock-up in that storyline with Adam, and it was also used last year in that scene where, of course, 7 needs were attacked. So that area really has been used for everything and everything over the last few months. So if you want to have a little look around this area, guys, do feel free to go down to that area.
So this area is where they're building the new precinct.
Just on the other side of this wall, that's the going along there. We have lines just on the other side of this wall, so we don't no longer have to disguise the sound of transport maps because we can use them in the programme as part of our metro, like you said. You might notice sometimes you'll see like maybe a construction worker walking around with a high vis and a helmet on. The reason behind that is there's usually construction work going on around that we can't disguise the noise of, so it makes it seem as if it's part of just Weatherfield's daily life. There's just maybe construction work going on the other side of a wall or something that we can't see. So by doing that, it just disguises it in. We did it for a little period. We had the outside of the gym covered in scaffolding and things. That's because we were building a block of flats at Media City that was really, really loud. So by, of course, filming on that bit of the area, just having sort of a little bit of action going on in the background, you viewers think, oh well, it's just the construction noise in the flats and not actually from over at Media City. So we're going to head round now over to Victoria Street. Trim up north, of course, this is Audrey's barbershop. She owns it these days. Maria's the manager, and of course, David is the barber. Yeah, so following the closure of her salon, of course, the Ray Crosby Walker salon, she ended up, Audrey opened up, she took on ownership of the barbershop here. And upstairs from here as well, we have the Red Bank Apartments, which we've actually just over the last few months seen on screen for the first time. Sarah and Adam Barlow, they live in number 7 at Red Bank Apartments. You might have seen Sarah, she wasn't best pleased with the way that Adam was going on. She was throwing all of his clothes off that staircase just last week. Who knows how that storyline will end up. We're going to head down this way. So as I said, 4 years ago yesterday, this part of the street opened up for the very press for the very first time. Of course, it's allowed us to see speed dial, Weatherfield North tram stop, and of course it's given us some product placement opportunities. You might remember EE, that used to be Costa Coffee, and next door to them we have the Co-op. We also have the Urban Garden over there, which at the back has a memorial bench to the 22 victims of the Manchester attacks. And this is where sometimes we've seen a dramatic scene happen. I think it's a really addition to this part of the street is Shuttleworth's independent funeral services, of course, owned by George Shuttleworth. And you might remember Archie Shuttleworth was his dad. He produced as a love interest for Blanche back in the day. Their old funeral parlour was on Higher Street. Now, just yesterday I was talking to the show's old archivist, Darren Little. He said to me, the reason it's Shuttleworth is the family motto for funeral parlour is services to shuttle you up. That makes sense? Yeah? So get your pictures here now, guys, and then what we're going to do is take a sip. You're joking. We've got the Amazon theme park over at MediaCity. But they used to sit in radio. So, somebody else used to say this way. Sometimes there'll be an Albert Soleil, and there'll be it's the View Cinema next time. Albert Soleil. This way. So there we are. So we're going to head back in sort of the direction we've been, sort of loop around on ourselves. If you'd like to follow me up this way, try not to get confused with the other group that is just slightly ahead of us. Okay, so welcome to our props area here at Coronation Streets, where you can basically find anything and everything that you need to dress a set. Now, we have got just a little selection of things here to show you, such as the garden dressing. There's a shed up here for bikes, so every child in the street will have their own bike because, of course, as I said, Coronation Street viewers are very vigilant. They will notice the fact if you have Jack Webster on Liam Connor's bike in one scene, they'll say, well, wait a minute, that's the same bike. So they're all labelled, and it's part of our props team's duties to make sure that each individual product, such as laptops and phones, are labelled with which characters they are. Even suitcases are labelled with Fizz's suitcase, Tyrone's suitcase. Inside of this building we have a much bigger props warehouse where basically it's like a Coronation Street museum. You name it, we've probably kept it. So whenever you see a character redecorate, all of their furniture, their old furniture, gets taken out and put into this warehouse, and maybe in 10 years time when we have a new character join, we could reuse a bit of that furniture, or perhaps if we have a guest character come in and we need to dress their set just for a few episodes, we might stick their old somebody's old sofa in there. And as viewers, whilst you are vigilant, of course, when you take that furniture out of the original setting and put it in another one, it looks like a completely different house. However, of course, we do have iconic props in here as well. You might remember a few years back, Ken opened up the drawing number 1 and all of Deirdre's old glasses were in there. We do, of course, store all of these. We have, of course, Liz's famous necklaces that she always used to wear, Ina Sharple's hairnet, and of course that impressive big picture of Alf Roberts that's always above Audrey's fireplace. Now, we went from using a set for 5 Grasmere Drive back in the 90s to using the real life location. It looked completely different, but as viewers you instantly saw that picture of Alf above the fireplace and all of his like sort of bear clothing. You instantly thought, well, it's 5 Grasmere Drive, of course. You didn't realise it was a different house at all. So do have a couple of minutes, guys, to have a little nosy. You never know, you might recognise something from over the years. Like I say, it's all garden stuff down here, construction dressing here, and of course the bike store. Look at this. This is a shed full of rubbish that they can put in a skip to make it seem like the skip's full of bricks and bits of wood and things. some signage there for Weatherfield City Council. The larger bits of signage tend to be kept inside of the van, so anytime you see a fresh van or a brewery van, they tend to be pulled from the box inside. Said, you are now entering Macclesfield. Now, do you remember when Robert was playing away from home with that Vicky lady a few years back? Yeah, the Irish lady. Well, of course, she was meant to be living in Macclesfield, but imagine if we had to film all the way over in Macclesfield all of the time, sort of moving all of our crew down there and setting up in a house. That would be no good, would it? No. So what we did was, we got the big sign saying Macclesfield, put it on a road in Salford, and we used to record the actor who played Robert, Tristan Gemmell, just driving past that, and you guys were instantly fooled. It was Macclesfield, and we actually just used a house up in Salford for that. You guys all believed it was Macclesfield. Brilliant. Right, head up this way now, guys. Now, as I said to you earlier, we had to think of a new sort of way that we could show Rosamond Street through the viaduct. Of course, at the old place we had that picture, but it just wasn't effective anymore. So we built these facades here to insinuate that the street continues off to the left-hand side. However, as you can see, they're not real bricks at all. And this sort of harks back, funnily enough, to when the show first began, because whilst we've got the facades here at Rosamond Street, back when the show began, we had facades for Coronation Street in our studio. Some of those production techniques are still in use today, because back then, if you ever saw a character hanging out of an upstairs window, they were up on a ladder looking out, because of course there was no backs to the buildings. And that's something that we would have to do here if we were ever to show any characters that lived on Maudsley Street along here. As you can see, there's no backs to their houses. They would have to be stood up on a ladder doing exactly the same. There's actually a famous story in relation to that regarding Jean Alexander, who played Hilda Ogden. She suffered from vertigo. However, fortunately for her, we had to have her stood up on a ladder, hanging out of number 13's window, hanging flags out for the Jubilee party once. She wasn't best pleased. But like I say, that's just the same thing that we would have to do here in 2021, and that was all the way back in the 1970s. So some things have changed quite considerably, some things have stayed the same. Right, we're going to head up now to our last point, which is the Tony Warren building, directly ahead of us. This is your last view of the street through here. Guys, everybody wants to gather in again. So welcome to the Tony Warren building, of course named after the show's creator Tony Warren. His original vision back in 1959 was to portray real life on screen, and Granada, they said no, because they said who would be interested in watching something that they could look out their window and see? Of of course, Tony Warren proved them wrong. The show was commissioned initially just for 13 episodes, and here we are over 10,000 episodes later, with what I dare say is one of the greatest shows on British TV, if not the best. Now, this building here, of course, our main production hub, this houses costume, makeup, press and publicity are up there on the first floor. All of the cast dressing rooms are in here. And these two wings coming off the side of studios 1 through to 4. This is where the majority of the interior scenes for the programme are filmed. Now, unfortunately, we can't take you inside of these purely because of any spoilers, because if you watch an episode of Coronation Street, you'll notice that usually about 50%, maybe sometimes more, is filmed on the interior sets, and the rest is out on the exterior. So for that reason, you guys could go in and see the scene of a murder, perhaps. So maybe you could see that somebody was now married to somebody else by the pictures on their walls. So for that reason, we can't take you in there. However, this building is a set in itself to a degree. If you all turn around and look in that direction, ignore the Newton and Ridley sign. What is this building used as? See a sign in the distance there.
Hospital.
Hospital, yes. So anytime that you see characters arriving up at the hospital, going in through that door, we have to replace this sign, the Tony Warren building, with the sign saying Weatherfield General Hospital. We have another sign that stands here, that one over there, and as well our reception area, we have a big Coronation Street style brick wall in there that we have to try and hide and make it seem like the interior of a hospital building. This has also been used as the exterior of Weatherfield High during the pandemic, but we've actually started going back to the location again for that. So like I say, we really do use every little bit of our production site here at Media City to deliver Coronation Street to you. There's an example of the tram noise. Right guys, I think I'll just give you a few words from Tony Warren himself. Now, when Her Majesty the Queen visited back in 1982, she had a very important question for Tony Warren. She said, "Where is Coronation Street?" And his answer was a nice one. He said, "Well, it's meant to be about 7 miles in any direction from the centre of Manchester." But he said, "I always like to take it to wherever you want it to be in your heart." Which is really nice, isn't it? Follow me this way here, with lots of costumes inside. This is just, of course, over the past couple of years, to reduce numbers inside of our studio buildings, we've been using these marquees to house costume departments and things, so it just makes it a little bit easier for us to social distance. Of course, with those rules coming to an end now, we're not relying on these buildings as much, which is why our one on the left-hand side is now our gift shop here. So this is where, if any of you got your pictures taken outside of the Rovers, you can go and grab them, and also take a souvenir home, maybe a magnet for the fridge. Before I do that though, guys, just a quick reminder, please keep supporting the programme. It's on, of course, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, now for an hour from 8 till 9 PM, so don't miss that. There's some really good stuff coming up soon. Other than that, guys, I've been Michael. If you've enjoyed your tour, please leave me a little review on TripAdvisor or Facebook. If not, you can leave them under the name of Pat Phelan, Tracy Barn. I'll take anything other than Michael, basically. But thank you very much for your time, guys. It's been wonderful to do a tour after 2 whole years, so thank you very much for visiting us as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.
So once you guys are finished, you head back in the direction that you came from, basically.
Hello. That's it. I hope you've enjoyed the tour here at Coronation Street. Again, well worth coming and having a tour around the set for £35. It's not rushed, you can take as many photos as you want. So make sure that's your next visit. So again, if you can subscribe to our channel, if you've enjoyed the video, it's completely free. Make sure you like, comment, share with your friends, and we will see you next time, wherever that may be. So we're just exiting out. So this is the main entrance again, where all the film stars come in tomorrow morning, Monday morning, ready for work and parking up here. So just remember, if you're coming to do the tour, it's not where it used to go from, it's actually here on the main road, the main entrance to Coronation Street, Trafford Wharf Road.